So this is a little random, but I did want to get on here and chat about just what's been going on for the past year, because I didn't really post an update after the Bravo test video. A lot happened, like a lot. So a little while after the Bravo test, I was told by my doctor that everything was normal with that, which is kind of weird for me to hear because I was experiencing a lot of burning and a lot of the regurgitation, and I did press the buttons like a lot. But he said every time I pressed the buttons that it didn't pick up the readings of acidity, which was weird, and I kind of had some disbelief in the test that maybe something went wrong. After that test, he said it was imperative for me to get another test called an esophageal manometry. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically this long string of sensors that he will place down your nose, and it kind of goes down your nose and all the way down to where your esophagus is. Or the end of your esophagus, to test all of the pressures of your swallowing muscles. So it tests to make sure how strong your swallowing muscles are so that he can determine how tight to make the fundoplication wrap, or if you're getting a lynx surgery, if you're thinking about getting the lynx implant, which is the metal bracelet thing that goes around your LES, and I guess I'll throw a picture up there. So it's very important for you to get this test because if you can't swallow anything and it can't go past the tightness of the wrap at the bottom of your esophagus, then you're kind of like gonna have a lot of problems because you're not gonna be able to swallow your food. It's not gonna be able to go down. So even though this test is kind of scary and probably the worst one I've done, if I'm going to be honest, it's very, very important. It was probably the most important test that I've ever done. With that being said, the results of my test were that I have very weak swallow muscles, and he said that I can't, I wouldn't be able to swallow my food past a like full wrap or anything that's tight, like a lynx implant. So I was not a candidate for the lynx implant at all. But what he did tell me that I could get was called a transoral incisionless fundoplication. So it's basically this thing where you put, they put a device down your throat while you're asleep. And I really can't explain what it does. It basically just like flips your stomach, kind of like a normal fundoplication. And just they fasten it with these little pins. So that's meant to be a solution that is not permanent, that if you were responding bad to that surgery for any reason whatsoever, that he could just reinflate your stomach and the surgery would essentially just come undone. He also said that I had some kind of hernia, that he was seeing a hiatal hernia based on the swallow test, which is the esophageal manometry test, and that he would have to repair that as well. He had scheduled me for a hiatal hernia repair and a TIF, which is transoral incisionless fundoplication, which I ended up getting that in July of 2019. I'm sorry I didn't make a whole video on my surgery and recovery process, but I feel like I could talk about it a little bit now because we have some time. You really can't see a hiatal hernia unless you're actually surgically inside of a person, I've been told. Again, I'm not a doctor, like I don't know, but it only makes sense that you can't see exactly how big a hernia is from within. You can only see from, I forget what it's called, laterally? No, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. After him going in to repair the hernia, he did that first. He told my mom and my boyfriend that my hernia was probably the size of an orange above my diaphragm. So if you don't know what a hiatal hernia is, it's when your stomach gets pushed up into your diaphragm. So it's almost like a balloon on top of your diaphragm. And it could cause some, malfunction, I could say, with your stomach muscles that are supposed to open and close properly with that sphincter. So the fact that I had a hernia that was this big above my diaphragm that could have caused so much of my problems just from the get-go, just with that. And he said that people's hernias don't just get like that overnight, and they just don't get that big in an instant. So it's probably something that I've had my entire life that just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, until somebody actually said, hey, you might have a hernia, which just kind of baffles my mind that no other doctor has even thought that I might have a hernia. Even though I remember being a kid and my mom saying like, oh, are you sure she doesn't have a hiatal hernia? Because I had one or whatever. And none of the other doctors that I've had even, took that into account, probably because of my age and my weight. But what do you know? I had one of the biggest hernias my doctor has ever seen. And that's a fact. Like, my doctor did tell me that even in older people, he's never seen a hernia that was this big. And that kind of is a little bit scary, but glad that he was able to fix it up. So he basically had to, pull my stomach back. Oh, sorry for the details, but he had to pull my stomach back down where it belongs. And then there was a hole in my diaphragm about this big, he said, that he had to sew back together. And I have pictures of that, but I will not bother showing them to you because they're a little bit scary. He said he was successfully able to repair the hernia, and then he did the transoral incisionless fundoplication, where he fastened it with fasteners, and then it was good to go. And then when I was recovering, I remember sleeping the whole first day, just out. Don't even remember it. And then I stayed overnight in the hospital. And then he was trying to do this swallow test with it's called GastroView, and it's probably the worst thing that you can ever put in your mouth. Yeah, it honestly tasted like metallic dish soap or something like that. Something that like your body does not, that should not go in your body. And I tried to do it and I couldn't, and you know what? Still got charged for it, so that sucks, but I had to tell my doctor that I really couldn't do it. The reason why they do the swallow test is to make sure that there's no holes after the surgery, like make sure that nothing's leaking. Because if you do have something leaking, then, it could get out of your, it could leak out of your stomach and, compromise other organs in your body. And that was just what he was trying to make sure that I didn't have. And I was like, I really cannot do this. I asked if I could do barium instead, and he said no, because if it does leak, then the barium can harden in other places in your body, and that would be worse. So I was like, all right, what do I do? And he's like, okay, we're just going to keep you another night in the hospital just to make sure that you're okay. I stayed another night in the hospital. And by the second day, I think I was a little bit more coherent. I was still very, very tired. They would try to get me to walk, because you don't want to get blood clots. But I remember having the worst shoulder pain, like right here. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, when they were telling me that I might have shoulder pain, I was like, I've never gotten shoulder pain in my life. And then I'm like in the hospital room, like recovering from surgery, and I've got this shoulder pain that I'm like, I cannot even move my arm. Like, I think they tell you that you get shoulder pain because when your stomach gets inflated, and then they deflate it, the gas, it like kind of releases itself out of your body, and it just, I don't know why, I don't get it, but it goes out into your shoulder. So the reason why they have you walk around all the time is so that you can kind of like get the gas moving out of your shoulder so that the shoulder pain goes away. But yeah, I remember that being terrible. I would walk around and I'd have to like stop and just hold my arm. So that part sucked, but you do get put on a pain pump after, so you get to just give yourself as much morphine as you want. Actually, that's not true. There's a limit on it. You can't press it as like that many times in a certain amount of a certain period of time, but it's honestly just enough to like help you with your pain. So that's what I was doing, and I feel like I stayed another day. I don't remember, it was a year ago, but I definitely feel like I stayed another night. Probably because I was still trying to get my fluids up. Oh yeah, they don't give you any fluids like the day of your procedure. You don't get to eat or drink anything. You don't really get to eat normal food after your surgery. That was Marley. My mouth at this point is like the Sahara Desert. He wasn't even letting me, like, I couldn't even drink water after the surgery. And I remember my mouth being so dry, and all you want to do is just drink water because they've had like, breathing tubes down your throat and like the instrument that he used to do the fundoplication. And my throat was so sore, and all I wanted was just to like ease it with some water or some kind of fluid. And I just wasn't allowed to drink any fluids. The only thing that I was allowed to have was ice chips, just to keep my mouth moist. But that didn't work. It was not working. So I will say that after surgery, your mouth is going to be the Sahara Desert, and it's going to be fine, but that's just something that you're going to have to deal with. I feel like by the third day that I was in the hospital, they allowed me to have water, but just like little small sips of it. And then going home, my doctor said that I could only have a clear liquid diet for, I don't know, it was like a week or something on just clear liquids. So like Jello, water, tea, soup, like stuff like that. That's just not viscous. That is just like really easy to swallow, because we want to ease back into a normal diet. That was hard. I feel like the hardest part of the whole surgery was just the diet afterwards. I mean, you think about how many foods are, of liquid consistency with any kind of nutritional value to them, and there's just nothing. Like, you're really just on protein shakes and anything with sugar in it for 2 weeks, basically. I think after a week, you can have a full liquid diet, which is more of like your yogurts, your puddings. So after your full liquid diet, you can start having like mushy foods, and then that's like for another 2 weeks. So the whole process of recovering from surgery with your diet, the diet is the most important thing, because you don't want to rush anything thick or like too strenuous on your surgery, because I mean, you just think about all the tissues that are just trying to repair, like the scar tissue and everything, and everything's so sore. So I mean, and I will tell you, when I was trying to eat stuff that I wasn't supposed to have, I was getting my ass kicked for it, because every time I'd try to swallow, it would hurt really bad. So I knew that if I was eating something like that, after the first bite that hurt, I was like, okay, I can't eat that. So you'll kind of know. I mean, I'll tell you, day 3 or 4 after surgery, I was trying to eat Jello, and I really had to like take my time and be ginger with it, because it was just it was kind of hard. Like, I can't even really explain it. It's just a little bit hard to eat stuff after surgery, even like the most liquidy types of foods. So it takes some time, but it definitely gets better. You notice that every single day you're able to swallow a little bit better. You're gonna get hungry. I was very, very hungry. And I got really, really skinny. I'm already pretty skinny, and I was really, really skinny. You just have to make sure that you are drinking as many protein shakes as you can, because that's where you're gonna get your nutrition value. But yes, you're going to lose a lot of weight after surgery. And I think that you have to, you can't resume a normal diet until after 6 weeks from the surgery date. So, it is like a long process. You're not allowed to lift anything, obviously. I mean, it's a little bit rough. It's not too bad though. It's not the worst. You can still walk around and kind of just taking it easy. So that's how my surgery went last year. Unfortunately, around halfway through, or I would say maybe around January 2020, it's June right now. But around January, I was starting to get symptoms again, and I was like not wanting to believe it. And it was kind of depressing me because I felt, wow, I just went through this whole surgery and it was a process and I'm still not better. And, what's the thing that's going to make me feel better? But I will say that in the beginning of my surgery, I was feeling better. I did not feel like I was having regurgitation or getting nauseous after eating. I felt like I had more of an appetite. So the first, I would say, half a year after my surgery, I was like fine. I was responding well to the surgery. I was almost in tears after, 10 plus years of having all of these symptoms and not knowing, nobody telling me that I had a solution or they had a solution for me. And it gets really depressing because obviously it's not a life or death thing, but it is your life and it's your daily life at that. And it gets really hard. And I was just really down on myself after I was starting to feel symptoms again. And I felt like there was no hope for me. But then I went back to the doctor and he did another endoscopy to check and make sure that the surgery, or from what he could see from the inside, that the surgery was still intact. He did see that there was a little bit of a loosening of the fasteners that were holding the surgery together. So he did a barium swallow test to make sure, or to see if it was working properly. And all he told me was that it probably came loose. And I do surf a lot. And I think maybe the constant strain on my stomach area, just laying down on the board constantly, might have caused some kind of loosening of fasteners. And it makes sense. So he told me that he wanted to redo the surgery, but this time do it a normal, a traditional fundoplication where he stitches it up so that it's permanent and it doesn't come undone again. So that's the plan. And actually my surgery is tomorrow. So I am super excited to go through this again. But I mean, it does suck. I don't want to get surgery again, but there was a moment of relief when he told me that there was still more options for me to keep fighting this thing. So I'm kind of holding on to that positive attitude, and I'm going to hope that this is the last time that I have to get this surgery. I'm going to try to document my recovery on the daily, just so it's more informative for those people who do need to get the same surgery that I do, because I was looking all over the internet for videos that could, kind of put my mind at ease, because I'd never had to go through something like this before. But now that I've already gone through it, I feel a little bit more confident about it. And I'm just gonna try to document every single day and give you an update and, kind of see how the recovery process is going. I think that's it for this video. I don't want to keep it, or I don't want to make it too long. But I just did want to give an update to those people who were asking about what happened in the year that I didn't even post anything. If you're going through this, or if somebody you know is going through this, please share this video with them. I hope you find this video helpful or found it helpful. If you're going through the same thing, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, let me know and I will be answering them in the comments. So. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.